I went through hundreds of articles, posts, comments, and videos, polled our YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon, and combined that with our own knowledge and experience to create an enormous list of home gym tips, secrets, hacks. I'm not really sure what to call it, but I've whittled it down to this: my top 5, the last of which has so much going on, it could be its own video. And since I speak in what seems like one long mesmerizing run-on sentence without breathing, these 5 tips are probably more like my top 15. If you want to see the full list, you can check out our article written by Winnie and I on our website, since it's currently over 100 items long. Now, I'm going to skip some of the more popular tips you typically see, things like using horse stall mats for flooring, budgeting, and shopping sales. Those things are in the article, but we've covered them a few times. Seriously, we've got videos on planning, lighting, HVAC, my worst home gym purchases, and the list goes on. Will there be some overlap? Of course. I'm never really sure what's going to come out of my mouth, and some of those old videos are in like 480p with no mic, bad lighting, and my personality is more bland than usual, but mostly some stuff is just too important not to be in a video like this. So here we go, my top 5 tips for building your home gym. One of the things I hear on repeat in videos like this is buy once, cry once. I'm more of a research, evaluate, and buy what fits your situation. Listen, if you're fully committed to the debt spiral that is a home gym, then use my links and go crazy. I fully back you. Or if you're that guy who DM'd me 94 times and forgot to use the link, that's okay. Just go check out our Patreon. I want nothing more than to pass my equipment on to my kids, and I'll gladly pay more for that kind of quality. But I didn't start that way. The harsh truth is a home gym isn't for everyone. It can be hard working out at home because there can be more distractions. You're often alone, the equipment is more limited, which can make it hard to keep things interesting. It's expensive, you need space, and let's not forget about cleaning, maintenance, summer heat, and humidity, or that winter cold that can really challenge your mental toughness. Wow, I'm really selling home gyms, huh? They can be amazing, and for those of us who decide it's our thing, they're awesome. They are convenient, you control the quality, the music, you can design it however you want, nobody gets in your way, and this is the ultimate hobby and investment for someone like me. So if you're all in, go crazy, buy the best and never look back. Collect a dozen specialty bars that you'll never be able to use. Your wife's really gonna love you for it. But if you're starting out, I'd make sure this is for you first. Start with the essentials and buy the best thing that makes sense, which is probably the middle ground. I'm not saying go cheap and sacrifice a ton of quality and regret your purchases, but maybe instead of a stainless steel Ohio power bar, you buy a bare naked powerlifting bar instead. Still a good bar, just not the best. But the way things are going, you can probably sell this thing in a few years for what you bought it for and play the upgrade game later if you want, but really won't need to. Versatility is king in a home gym, even if I'll be the first one to tell you not to get caught up in the hype, because believe me, the world is full of influencers, Facebook experts, and reviewers peddling the latest and greatest bench, or how you can take the handles off a trap bar and use it for all kinds of things, even if they never do. But none of those people are you. We don't know your space, your lifting style, your wants, or your needs. And those are the factors that matter most when building your space. Well, that and your budget, but what's another purchase when you're 10 grand into your $1,000 budget build? When starting your home gym, you need to make your most logical purchases first. So start with the essentials, things like a rack, plates, barbells, and an adjustable bench. But after that, it's best to search out items that can do more than one thing well, or save you space, or save you money. So here's a few examples. First, to contradict myself, Rep's open trap bar is a better option than something like Giant's if you're looking for an item you can do a lot with. Since you can swap the handles to fit your build or remove them to perform cambered squats, bench, and a lot of other exercises. Microgains dumbbell add-ons are a great way to save money and space since you can use them to create additional dumbbell increments. For example, I never bought 7.5, 12.5, 17.5, or even 105-pound dumbbells. Well, because my wife probably already wanted to leave me after I spent $4,000 on my dumbbell set, so I just strapped these onto my dumbbells for those in-between weights. But you could take it a step further and get their 2.5-pound plates and buy your dumbbells in 10-pound increments. So 10, 20, 30, and so on, and use these to make your 15s, 25s, 35s. You get the idea. It's not as good as a full set, but they'll definitely save you space and money, and these work on a lot of adjustable dumbbells. Yeah. There's a ton of examples out there. My Aries is one of my top 5 pieces of equipment in here because it saves me from having a separate functional trainer and dedicated lat pull down and low row. Just ignore the dedicated lat pull down and low row. 3x3 racks with more holes than any man could ever fill or wish for make it easy to attach things in any orientation or build off of in an insane amount of ways. This 11-post rack with rep and rogue components is a good example of the freedom they provide, and the list goes on. So do your research or trust some random guy on the internet and find versatile items that'll work for you. One of the best things I ever did when I started building my space was buying used. I bought my first rack for $500, used it for a few years, and then sold it for $1,400 to a guy who's right down the road, who I really hope isn't watching this video. Hey Chris. I then took that money and used it to help upgrade to this rack, and could probably make an entire video on the subject. So flip things, like I did with the plates I made an awful restoration video on. All right, awful might be a little bit generous. And sell your bad purchases and what you don't use. And no, this doesn't apply to my bench collection. I clearly use those every day. But I know if you've been watching the channel, I'm the worst example of this. So walk away from your mistakes and don't be like me. I still own this trash bar for absolutely no reason. I guess I got a funny video out of it. And my Titan pivoting tricep bar is still here, even though I've probably single-handedly tanked its sales. And for some reason, I still have my bent bar from our Amazon rack video. But the real question here is, how much crap do I have lying here on the floor? What I do when I'm searching the used marketplace is try to generalize my search terms and try out different keywords. If I search for stainless steel Rogue Ohio power bar, I get very few results, or even worse, people who know what they have. I'm looking for oblivious spouses who are mad at their husbands for buying things when they told them not to, and I'm just here to help her teach him a lesson with my newly discounted, perfectly functioning equipment. Now, if I search for something like Olympic bar, I'm probably going to get a lot of crap, but I'll get more listings, and I've got a better chance of finding someone whose head isn't stuck up their own ass. It's not a foolproof system. It can take some serious time, and you might have to deal with the diarrhea of the internet, and there's always a chance of dying during a deal, but on the bright side, you'll end up with a sick home gym. The two biggest issues every home gym faces is lack of money and lack of space. So let's talk about storage and organization, because taking financial advice from a guy who worked 2 jobs to build a home gym might not be your best idea. Having good storage systems is 100% a worthwhile, if not exciting investment, because it'll help with the atmosphere, since your gym will look more polished, which makes spending time in here more enjoyable. And maybe most importantly, it'll allow you to fit more stuff in your gym. But it'll also help you keep your workouts more efficient. I can't tell you how much time I've wasted looking for things during a workout. Now, technically, when you would tell you, it's because I'm a man and I can't find something even if I'm looking at it. And while that's true, it's beside the point. Now, we can't talk about all the solutions in this video, but we've got a huge video coming that will attempt to. And it'll cover small things like garage hooks, all the way to insane DIY solutions. So subscribe so you don't miss that one. But here's a few of my favorites. Barbell storage is important because it's only a matter of time before you change from that guy who says, you only need 1 bar, to, well, me. I have no idea what that voice is supposed to be. And luckily, there's a lot of options. I've got 2 plate trees that have barbell storage built in. My Rogue wall-mounted gun rack works well. Just make sure you throw an American flag back there so people know you're a true patriot. I've got Rogue's 3-bar keyhole gun rack, wall-mounted vertical holders, a floor bar holder, and this one here, which I don't recommend because the branding gets in the way. It's very expensive, and I don't feel like they've fully fleshed out the system yet. But whatever you end up buying, there's a lot of options. So many that I can't link them all in the description. Believe me, I tried. My favorite gym storage system is my wall control. And I'm not saying that because we have a 10% off code with them, but I mean, if you want to use it, this stuff is exceptionally versatile and can hold an incredible amount of things. I think we've got something like 16 panels of it in here, holding belts, collars, cable attachments, you name it. What makes it so good is it's modular. You can swap out the hooks or add more panels. Really, the options are nearly limitless. And after using it for years, I can't recommend it enough. This next section actually has so much stuff in it, it probably could be its own video. So let's talk about attachment compatibility between racks, because this is a question I get constantly. For example, I often get asked how I attach this Rogue storage panel to my rep rack, since it's very common to hear you can only use attachments that utilize one hole between metric and customary racks, since the second hole won't line up because of the difference in the measurement systems. And while it's true that most of the time it can be tough to get your bolt into that second hole, that applies more to rack attachments rather than components like cross members. And if you look here, you can see this is 3 Rogue bolts going through a rep cross member and upright and into a Rogue storage panel. So how does that work? Well, there's a little bit of play between the rack and the bolts. Don't normally have that much trouble getting my bolt into that second hole here. So you can see that a little bit of wiggle, which is how I got my Sornex change plate holder onto my rep upright. Since these metric bolts aren't quite as large as their black American counterparts, and that's in diameter as well. So swapping cross members between the two is actually pretty simple. You could even put this hideous rep logo onto your Rogue rack. I did try it to make sure it works, even though nobody would actually do that. And you can do that as long as you realize that their cross members are slightly different lengths than Rogue's. So this metric 30-inch rep cross member is a little bit longer than Rogue's 30-inch pieces. So you have to swap all the cross members that are affected in that area. So this storage panel is linked up with a Rogue 30-inch cross member. Unfortunately, it's not as easy with attachments because the tolerances are tighter, which is where the multiple holes rule comes in. Really feel like I'm missing a joke there, but things that utilize one hole tend to work pretty well. These are Rogue's monster storage weight horns, and I've got Rogue's sandwich J cups here, and they'll fit, but they're gonna be a little bit loose because an American rack is a little thicker than an imported one. Doesn't matter if we're talking 2x3 or whatever, the same rule is going to apply. Are there exceptions to the rule? Of course. Here's Rogue's 3-bar keyhole gun rack, something like that. And if I try to put it on a rep's rack, it won't fit because that metric inches numbery thing difference screws things up. But since it's got this 5/8 inch lip for the keyholes in a Rogue rack, I can actually slip it on a keyhole and then slip it in. It's a little loose, but it will work. If you're going metric to inches, like putting rep on Rogue or Titan on Rogue, then things will be a little too tight because of that size difference. But if the attachment has UHMW on it, you can remove it, sand down the backside, and then reinstall it to get a good fit on the rack. One hack that doesn't get much credit is for those of you that might have found that your pin is maybe a bit too small to fill these larger holes. Now, if you have a Rogue Monster rack and an attachment with a 5/8 inch pin, you've got a bit of an advantage here since you can use the Monster keyholes, they're 5/8 inches, to hold your 5/8 inch accessories. which is how I use my Bell seal row pad on my Rogue rack. But what if you don't have a monster rack or don't want to be limited in orientation because Rogue's keyholes aren't 4-way? Well, that's where adapters comes in. And there's a few options here, but I'm using the newest ones I've seen come out from F&F Steel and Kaizen DIY Gym. Just slide them on, tighten the Allen keys, and you've opened up more options for your rack. If you want to build the perfect gym, I'd say you should watch all of our build videos, probably on repeat, and that's for you, not for me to inflate my numbers and gain 3 cents of ad revenue. Let us know in the comments what your best advice and tips are for people to build their home gym, and we'll do our best to add them to the article. Thank you to our Patreons, links in the description. Like, comment, and subscribe, and do all that other stuff I always say. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.